Now, on the 20th of January 2020, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson announced at the UK African Investment Summit that the UK aims to be Africa's partner of choice for trade and investment, offering opportunities and resources for British universities and businesses to forge lasting equal partnership with their African counterparts. Now, the development group says it will tap into this to partner with Nigerian universities, businesses, and states to develop and create new wealth. Joining us now to have a conversation around this is Sam Agha Egwu, coordinator of the development group. I want to say thank you very much for joining us on Newsday. And certainly the UK is looking at Nigeria to forge deeper partnership and deeper ties. Talk to us, how will this benefit Nigeria and Nigerians?
It's a partnership between UK universities and Nigerian universities and their states. And basically, when universities work together, they can do a lot of things together. British universities were responsible for the development of a lot of Asian countries, especially places like Malaysia, Hong Kong, through a lot of intensive training, but training which is based on and focused on projects, specific development projects, not people just going out on scholarships or as individuals going to have different training. We are focusing on three things immediately, and one is university modernization. Partnership between British universities and Nigerian universities for modernization. Two is waste to energy, with being able to convert the waste in our community into energy for the purposes of the third objective, which is export. Nigeria so much needs export. It's the most important thing in Nigeria because the oil is dying. The oil is not sufficient anymore to keep an economy going. So if every state in this country should develop one global export, the whole country will completely transform from what we are having now.
All right, thank you very much. So just to clear up exactly how this program is going to work, is it a physical situation where the students, what do you call it, like a exchange program? Or is it some kind of hybrid learning situation where the students cross-pollinate from wherever their origin country is and within Nigeria? I just wanted to understand how that worked.
Okay. The first thing we've done is we've held a number of Nigerian conferences to introduce the conference to Nigerians. Now we're going to have a conference between Nigerian universities and their states with the British. The whole idea is that each state picks up a project or an export and will train managers for it. And once the managers have been trained, the managers now build the companies or the industry for the development of that specific business or project. So if you have, for instance, the state I came from originally, Bonny State, they've built tricycles. Now, can a Bonny State actually export tricycles? But how do they do that? The first thing you do is you train the managers who will manage the companies that will build the tricycles. Then you go into partnership with British companies to implement the project. So you have management training, the development of companies, and the financing of companies, then the training of the generality of the staff, the scientists, the technologists. It's the same principle on which Malaysia was developed. Let me put it this way. Malaysia had 4 principles for its development. Principle number 1, one state, one export. That means pick up an export, focus on that export, make it a global export. Then, before you go into another export. 2, determine the export. Nigerian states are always thinking, we've got gypsum, we've got this, we've got that, we've got limestone, they want to develop everything. And they don't have the resources to do it. So you've got to focus on one thing and build it up. The third one is massive training, internationally or locally, focused on that export. And the third one is working with the necessary international management, the businesses that can help you achieve that export. And Britain can deliver all of this because they've already done it in Malaysia.
All right, permit me to actually press into the minds of those who are trying to make this happen. Usually these days when we see things like this kind of partnership come to the fore, people are always a little bit skeptical or probably wary because most of all this sometimes might be smokescreen, or some might say it might just look like a Trojan horse. What is it in for the UK government?
It's business development. The relationship between Britain and Nigeria has been colonial. And from colonial, it moved into aid, giving of aid. Then Boris Johnson just woke up one day after Brexit and realized that aid was the wrong approach in Africa. Africa needs business investment and business partnerships on equal basis. And by supporting and growing African businesses on equal basis, Britain is growing. By training people, Britain was training 20,000 Malaysians at one time. 20,000 Malaysians. Do you know what that means in terms of benefit for British universities? But what happened to Malaysia? Malaysia grew and grew rapidly. But here, when you say still governor train people, they send 100 people and they think it's going to make an impact. No, it won't make any impact. You need 2 things to create an impact. People tend to think it's all about skills. But it's not just skills. It's also about culture, modern business culture. What is modern business culture? Timekeeping, keeping your word, getting things done, precision, science, logic. Our society is a very, very illogical society. We are too much into superstition. And when you have science, logic, precision, then you're coming into modern business culture. Modern business culture exists in every developed country. Now you need people who have skills and who have developed modern business culture. You don't grow it by training them in Nigeria. You grow it by training them in societies that have modern business culture. Then they have to come back here and create a critical mass. There has to be enough people, mobilizing enough people in a specific project. But what happens is that when we train people abroad, we train them haphazardly in too many things. And when they come back, they go into, this person goes into that department, goes into that department. There's no synergy. There's no mass impact. And so what happens? The Nigerian factor simply reabsorbs them. But what happened in Malaysia was they trained people in large masses for first the palm oil industry. Then they went on to do ICT. Then they went on to do the car industry. And when they do these things, they also develop 3 institutions to go with it. The first institution is the university that supports it, or the Institute for Export or Training or Development. The second one is the business group that supports it. So, for instance, the institution in the case of palm oil in Malaysia is the University Putra. And the business agency that develops businesses is the MPOB, Malaysian Palm Oil Board. And then, thirdly, they build a town for that specific export, in which all the people involved with that export are actually located in that town. Whether it's companies that manufacture, companies that export, they are all inside that export town. These three things drive all Malaysian export development. And if we can replicate each of these in every state, Nigeria will transform very rapidly. And that's what we want to go and try and do. That's what we're going to try and do. We're holding a UK conference in November, Nigerian UK conference in November, to begin to understand, imitate, and implement the Malaysian principles and the Malaysian institutions into the various states that participate within Nigeria. There's already a number of states that are participating, and we'll start with those states. And we also hope that as we develop it in Nigeria, we will extend it to other African countries.
You know, listening to the explanation of this whole project, it's really quite commendable. And it actually makes a lot of sense, and we really hope that this is something we can implement. But I wanted to ask you really briefly, how long? All right, there's no time. Thank you so much.